Hey everyone, this is Ben Eubanks, host of We're Only Human. Glad you're here with us today. And today I'm introducing one of the very rare solo episodes. See, I'm going to play back for you a monologue, if you will. It's actually a keynote that I recorded for a recent event where I get into what AI is capable of, what it's not capable of, and some of the things we have to think about and remember right now. And this isn't just another session that you're going to get 10 ChatGPT use cases for HR. We're past that, okay? We need to understand the philosophical pieces there before we jump into the other components, because otherwise you start building the outside of the car without having the inside built first. I don't know where that metaphor came from, but let's run with it. So I'm going to give you some insight today into that with this mini keynote I recorded for a recent live stream our team did around AI and what's changing, what's hype, what you need to know as a talent and HR leader. So I hope you enjoy the conversation, the insights at least from the discussion. Here we go.
Don't conduct your analysis in isolation because data is so incredibly powerful.
Not defending just the tribe, but defending the organization.
Those creative people that you really want to keep empowered, keep excited, keep motivated, keep thinking.
A good experience pays dividends down the line.
Stereotypes tend to break down in proximity.
Welcome to We're Only Human, a podcast about human resources, business, technology, and the workplace. My name is Ben Eubanks, your host, and I'm so glad you're here. Hi, I'm Ben Eubanks. And today I want to talk about being human in the age of AI. More specifically, being human resources in the age of AI. See, there's so much news about this, the headlines I'll talk about, what's changing at work, and we are at the forefront of so many of those conversations. And today I want to go through some of the things that truly are changing, some things that aren't, what the opportunities are for us in that environment. The thing that this makes me think of is my 15-year-old daughters have just started driving. And I don't know if you've gone through that experience yourself, but it's very interesting transitioning back to the passenger seat. Suddenly you're at the mercy of somebody else. Suddenly you have no more control. You feel helpless in some ways. And when I talk to HR leaders about AI and what's happening in that world, many of them feel the same way. We're just riding along. We're going to wait and see what happens. We're going to see what someone else tells us to do, or we just feel kind of helpless about this whole change. And today, I want to give you some insight and some ideas on how you can change that mentality. If you're one of those people that feels helpless or hopeless, I want to make you curious. If you're curious, I'm going to make you excited. If you're excited, buckle in, because we're going to get into some of the good things that you can do to take advantage of this new opportunity we have. See, the AI landscape is changing. In the last few years, I've talked to more than 100 different providers of HR technology. They're building these tools to hire, to pay, to keep employees, and they're trying to help employers solve big problems, and they've built these AI tools across the spectrum. On top of that, we're seeing generative AI tools like ChatGPT and others that are emerging. We have to suddenly become experts in how to use these things. And then the latest craze is all around AI agents and agentic AI and what that means for us. All of these things are happening, and at the same time, we're seeing news stories like IBM's where they replaced hundreds of their HR team members with algorithms. Now, when that news came out, there were people that said, this is great, it's about time. And there are others that said, what is happening? How could this be? And regardless of where you fall on that spectrum, I want you to realize that change is going to happen, and we either change ourselves or we just have to respond to it, react to it, feel like we're in the passenger seat and have no control. One of my favorite quotes that really highlights this is from Alvin Toffler. He said that the illiterate of our century won't be those that can't read or write, but those that can't learn, unlearn, and relearn. And we're having to do that right now, every single day. Now, all of these things are happening, and I actually ran across a friend of mine, works for a government agency recently, and he was telling me about this story that illustrates this so well. He said they're moving their operations from one part of the country to another. And as part of that move, they offered the existing employees there a chance to rebid, recompete for their jobs. And if they were accepted, they would move their family, full relocation, no questions asked. And many of those employees took early retirement, quit, or just instantly unplugged from their work because they didn't think they were competitive anymore. Think about how that would feel for you. If someone told you tomorrow when you showed up at work, you had to recompete for your job against someone who has more recent training, someone who has new ideas, someone who has new tools to do the job. That would feel really scary. It'd be a tough place to be. Not only that, but those companies I was talking about a minute ago that have built these AI technologies for our work, they're doing some things that we have done for a very long time. There are tools right now where a candidate can go and apply for a job. It will vet and screen them automatically. And if they're found to be suitable, it can send them a job offer at the current market rate without someone talking to them, without any interaction with us. It can do all of that completely automatically. There are tools that are using AI to set pay rates. There are tools that are using AI to develop training rapidly and with a more comprehensive nature than we could ourselves. All of those things are happening, and all those are true. And those are things that we have done as HR and talent leaders ourselves. But there are other things that can do even better than us. There's a benefits company I ran across recently, and they were telling me about the algorithm they've built that can look at the claims data from an employer and actually indicate which employees may have the beginnings of an illness they don't even know about yet. Like, hey, so-and-so has pre-diabetic tendencies. Do they even know this? And they can help employers step in and help that person when it's a problem this big versus when it's this big. Those are all examples of things that we have done historically, and some things newer that we can't even do ourselves because we don't have the ability to see the way that AI does. And hearing those things may be scary. How about this? One more thing to put a little bit of fear into you, just so you're at the edge of your seat. Based on what I can see across the market, about 70% of the work that we do as talent leaders can already be done by AI. How's that? Now, if that's the case, what does that mean for us? Is Ben here just to give us a doom cloud? No, absolutely not. I want to give you some idea of what AI can't do. After sharing those things, here are some things that it cannot do that need to get done every day at work. For starters, AI cannot handle uncertainty. They're programmed to handle certain situations, very narrow parameters. It needs lots of feedback to train a model. And I don't know about you, but many of my days as an HR leader varied greatly. You never saw the same problem twice. It was so different day to day. And because of that, that uncertainty is something that AI can't easily handle. AI cannot build trust. The last time, think about this, the last time you walked up to someone that you had just met, maybe a new person on your team, maybe a new leader in your business, and you shook their hand, you look them in the eye, that seed you planted right there was a seed of trust that hopefully sprouted into something bigger and more fruitful over time. AI cannot build trust in that same sort of way. AI cannot understand culture. Maybe it can quantify some of the behaviors or the actions at work. It can define some of the ways people interact, but it can't tell you what it feels like when you walk into an environment and you feel one of two things. You walk in and you feel like there's a lot of energy here. People are excited. I can feel the collaboration. People are doing good things. Or you walk into the environment that says, wow, I feel like I'm already losing my soul just stepping through the doors. This place is not where I want to be. That level of culture and connection at work is something that AI cannot replicate. It can't understand it at the level that we can. Not only that, but AI cannot mentor other people. People are asking AI questions today that they should not be. They're using that as a substitute for human interaction and human relationships, and in some cases, it's costing them tremendously. There's a story in the news recently about a gentleman who got a disease that we thought was eradicated because he was following advice from an algorithm on how to deal with a medical condition. And instead of asking a real person, he asked that. Think about the times where someone has reached back to help you up, to give you a hand in a workplace situation, a workplace context, or even in your own personal life. That mentoring is a human fundamental, and it's something AI cannot do. When I think about the best workplaces I've ever been in, one of the things that set them apart was there was a level of acceptance, respect, and appreciation there. A sense of belonging, where someone knows that they're in the right place, and it's not an academic thing, it's not a math thing, it's just something that you can feel because of the interactions, the experiences that you have. We can create that kind of environment. It's one of the things that we do best, but AI cannot. And last of the six here, something that AI can't do is it cannot take responsibility. Like many of you, I have had to sit across from someone at the workplace and look them in the eye and say, listen, your performance scores are great. You've been an incredible employee. Your leaders love you. And in spite of all those things, we lost this contract you're working on and we can't keep you. AI can't take the responsibility the way that we can, the way that we have in many of those situations where we have to step up and say, here's what we're going to do to try to make it right. Here's how we're going to help in the middle of this tough challenge, but we have to take responsibility. AI does not. And each of these instances and in others, these are examples of things that are true human work that can't be automated, that can't be delegated, that can't be handed off to an algorithm because it's not designed to do those things. And when people talk about, oh, AI will do this stuff so we can do other stuff, no one ever talks about that other stuff. And these are examples of what that can be. And how many of those tie into our work as talent leaders and HR leaders? Most of them. The other thing I want you to hear is that AI thinks about people in terms of numbers, in terms of variables, and humans defy quantification. Here's what I mean by that. I was reading a story in the book, The Flaw of Averages, around the US Air Force, and they were crashing a significant number of planes. I don't know what a significant number is, but any of them seems like it's pretty significant. And so they were trying to figure out what was causing this. And they started looking at the pilots and said, you know what, I wonder if the pilots of the day are a different size than the pilots the cockpits were designed around originally. So they had their team of IR psychologists, their HR team, go in and measure thousands of pilots on over 100 different metrics, everything from the length of their thumb to how far it is from their ear to their eye, their height, everything you can imagine. And then some things that are a little creepy and weird they had to measure. And they went through all these things and said, okay, the average pilot is this tall, their arms are this long, their feet are this big, and they put together this average number. And then one of the researchers got a little curious, and he said, I wonder how many people truly are average on all those metrics. And he went back through all of those thousands of pilots, looked at their numbers on all these things, and he found that even for just 10 measurements, there wasn't a single person that actually was average on all those things. That's a great illustration of the fact that humans are not averages. Average works in math, average works in numbers. Humans are not average. They defy quantification. In a world where AI is being seen as the answer to everything, as the answer to every problem, as a solution to every challenge, we have to hear that anything people-related is going to be a problem there, because AI sees people as problems. AI sees people as challenges to overcome. AI sees people as hindrances to its objective or its goal. What do you see when you look at the people around you at work? When you look at the people who sign into that next Zoom meeting, you get the little Brady Bunch square around you. What do you see? Do you see problems and challenges? Because I know for me, people are not a problem to be solved, they're humans to be served. That's what drew me into HR in the first place, and for many of you, it's probably the same thing. You may say, yeah, sure, I like people, and I've heard people say, listen, once you've been in it for a while, you don't like people anymore. It's because we see the best and the worst. We see the challenges, we see the difficulties, but the things that bring us back day after day after day are the opportunity to see the best and to help people be their best when it comes to work. About a year ago, I was sitting down with my grandmother, and she was in the hospital. She was not doing well, and I didn't know if this was going to be the last conversation that I ever had with her. And so I was very curious about her and how she was doing, and all she wanted to talk about was my family, my kids, my work, how travel was going, those sorts of things that she cared deeply about. She was so concerned about other people and what they needed, and we have to be the same way. I'll say that forever, for as long as I've been in and around the HR space, that is what defines a great person, a great professional in this field, is someone that cares about others, that is considerate of what they need. And I don't think that's going to change at any point in the future. The best companies, they'll have that edge where they care deeply about the people. So I want to leave you with these 3 takeaways, 3 things you can think about and go do as we're walking out of this and transitioning to our other content today. I want you to be thinking about some opportunities that you have right in front of you. First, you have to keep learning like your career depends on it, because it does. Every day, things are changing, and if you stop and you rest and you just sit back and assume, I know enough, you are going to start falling behind. That exact moment, standing still, is falling behind. And it isn't enough just to know about our space and our industry. You have to know about the tools. Yes, you have to know about how people interact at work. We are the experts on humans in the workplace. We have to continue understanding and honing our understanding of how people interact in that context. We have to understand what our business does and how it makes money and how we can plug in to that with the resources that we have. But we also have to know ourselves. There's a great book written years ago by Gay Hendricks, and in it he talks about the zones of work that we have. There are 4 of them. There's a zone of competence, zones of excellence, and zones of genius. And we should all be striving to spend more time in those zones of genius, because that's where our best work comes from. We can do those things better than 99% of the people out there, and we have to know what ours is and work on carving and sculpting our work to fit more into that zone of genius, because that's where you are going to stand out and create the most value for yourself and the most value for the company you're working for. Number 2 on that list is to prioritize the human elements we talked about today, those things that AI cannot do. Being creative, being curious, adapting to change, handling uncertainty, taking responsibility. Those are things that algorithms cannot do, and we have to build those skills. Don't just treat it like a task. Treat it like a muscle you're building, and do that over and over, because it's going to get stronger as you do. And last but not least, I want you to think about this. In a world where all these stories are out there, many of them are designed to get us to click on them, to get us to read them, to get us to be a little afraid, because that means we're going to come back and read it again. That's the whole point of the news. If it bleeds, it leads. And I want you to choose hope over fear. I decided many years ago that I will not make decisions purely based on fear, because you make a short-term decision that doesn't serve you in the long term. And I'm not thinking about what's going to make you happy today. I want you to stop and think about that moment when you finish, when you retire, when you look back at your career and your legacy. And I want you to smile thinking about the impact that you had, not just on the projects and the tasks, but on the people ultimately, because that's really what it's all about.
Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I'm honored to have you as a listener. If you enjoyed this episode, please take 10 seconds to rate it at iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, if you know a friend that could benefit from today's conversation, please pass it their way. After all, a rising tide lifts all ships. To see show notes, sponsor information, and our full show archives, visit onlyhumanshow.com.